afternoon, YouTube. This is Evie. I'm in better spirits now that I'm making this video the second time than I was the first time. And we have a fantastic thunderstorm. And the daughter just went to sleep, so I'm hoping we will have no interruptions with this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the Phantom Tarot. I'm so glad that we're finally talking about this. I wanted this to be a live chat on Hangouts Air and people to chat and tell me about their experiences with the Phantom Tarot and stuff a little bit more intimately than just a review. So I'm a little disappointed there, but it's okay. But do a very, very quick review real quick before what I have experienced with this deck, and I wanted to ask you all, if you're all watching this video, what have you experienced with this deck, and what are some of the things that came up in when you were reading or doing tarot journaling or whatever the case may be. What kind of things have you experienced with this deck? And I'm very interested in it. And also comment below on what other tarot decks you want me to go in-depth detail. Not just a review, but just more of an in-depth journaling detail on what first impressions or impressions I got about the tarot deck. Because I'm hoping to tap on deeper topics about this deck than just a review. And first off, it comes in this box, and I think there was a promotion deal where there's buy one, get one free, and I did not take advantage of that deal just because I have a big tarot deck collection, I should say, and I just don't need a second tarot deck flying around. I have a second accidental copy from the Dame Darcy deck of the first edition, if anyone is interested in a tarot trade. I don't think I am interested in holding on to it either. So if anyone wanted the first edition of the Dame Darcy deck, hook me up and I'll hook you up. And so, okay, the size of the card deck. This is the card deck, and here's a regular Rider-Waite-Smith, and it's exactly the same size, actually. So if you can see that, it's exactly the same size as that, the regular Rider-Smith deck, and according to a poker deck, it's a little taller and slightly wider than a poker deck. But if you have this just a regular Rider-Waite deck from US Gaming Systems, which is this one, it's the same size. I usually like bigger cards, by the way, but I actually do love the fact that these are slightly smaller, because I can actually rifle shuffle them like so, and it'd be perfectly fine. I have small hands. I'm only 5 foot. I'm a very petite girl, and my hands, ooh shoot, are just as petite. And so, let me get my cards moved forward. I'm sorry about that, everybody. But yeah, my hands are just as petite as well. So they are reversible. I was going to say they're not reversible, but they are reversible. I thought they were not reversible because of the F in there, but then I flipped it all over and I went, oh, I guess they are. So they're a reversible deck. So cardstock. It's very matted. It's very soft feeling. It's actually soft matte finish. However, I was explaining earlier in my first attempt at this video that it takes a real big beating to even dent this card. I put the extra card that this had of this deck and actually flipped it around, bend it up and down and all that stuff, and it would have this deck will take a very good beating. So I'm actually very happy at the quality of the cardstock too, because It could be used and abused very much so. The packaging, of course, I can't say anything better about it, but awesome. I love the magnetic clasp. If every tarot deck I own was in this box, I'd be a freaking happy camper. And the print, I've already talked about the print, so, and the quality, so we're good. Some of the things that that's my daughter, I'm sorry about that. But, how I came across this deck, it was a 2-year journey for me. My journey with this deck started 2 years ago. I know this is not classic. This is actually my biggest pet peeve, is to have a wine glass and a champagne glass, but I don't have any wine glasses after the move, and there's MIA. Okay. The binky has to go in, I'm sorry. Binky, binky, binky. Alright, we're done. But this is wine is called, I don't know, but it was a $3 wine from Trader Joe's, and it tastes like cough medicine. Yummy. Back to my story about the tarot deck and how this fountain tarot came to me. It was a 2-year journey. The deck was published and out in 2014, and now it's the summer of 2016. So, and when I first started my buying up tarot journey, collecting, I actually wasn't a collector until like 2 years ago. So my deck collection have actually expanded since 2 years ago, but I didn't really start collecting decks until 2 years ago. I mean hardcore collecting. And this was one of those decks that I was first indie decks that I was considering to buy 2 years ago. I bought the Prisma's Visions Tarot and Wild Moon Tarot. No, it's not Wild Moon. It's a Wild and Unknown Tarot and the Prism of Visions Tarot. I had the choices of those two decks, and I decided to get those instead of Fountain Tarot. And I actually this was in the cart, and I was just about to click buy, and I had pre-buyer's remorse. I just said, I'm not as connected to the images as I think I am. I'm not going to get it. And as time grew apart between me and the Fountain Tarot, I actually grew to hate the images, to the point where I would say to myself, I would never get into the fan faves and get this deck. I would never stoop down to that level. I'm above that. And I was wrong. I have to admit I was wrong, because here I am 2 years later. I looked at it and just said, it had this promotion deal going on, buy one, get one free if you wanted to, going on. And why not? Now at a place where I still can't buy decks, but at least give it a try. So I bought it about the beginning of July, and I couldn't work with it again, because when I was flipping through the cards and the images of the deck, it reminded me of my daughters that were in the hospital. They were as soon as they were born, they were taken away from me and put in an ICU, and because they're twins, and they were born prematurely, so they were in ICU for about a month. I have one daughter here, the other daughter's still at the hospital, but it reminded me of my daughters and me as a new mother being ripped away and separated from my daughters, and because they were born under the sign of Gemini, and this deck, to me, is a very airy deck, and it kind of reminded me of, if they were into tarot, they would read this deck, because this deck represented them. And so that it made me sad looking at this deck. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't even touch this deck. And so I thought, oh my God, 2 years of having this buyer's block from this deck and another buyer's remorse of when I did buy this deck was just a bad double whammy. And about a week or so ago, I should say about a week ago, I just sat down and just said, you know, I bought this tarot deck for a reason. I really got this tarot deck for a reason. Just try it. Just give it a chance. That you felt like it needed when you did buy it 2 years later. So reluctantly, I did. And I actually am starting to think this is one of my favorite decks right now. Because in the month of July, this is one of my decks that I am hardcore working on for this month of July. With my bullet journal and my tarot journaling that I just did in my previous video that I just posted. And so, now let me talk about some of the things that I have discovered in my journaling process with this deck. I did 2 interview spreads with this deck. I don't need to do that one. Okay. I did 2 interview spreads with this deck. And what I found out was that what am I bringing to the relationship to this deck? For this one deck interview spread that I tried from this tarot playbook that I have right here by Linda Callis. I think it's her name, Callis. Is what am I bringing to the relationship? What is my deck bring? What am I bringing to the relationship? What is my deck bringing to the relationship? What is I can do for my deck, and what can my deck do for me? And overall advice for the relationship came from this book. I really didn't like that interview spread. It just didn't click. It just said, nah, I just don't want it. But so I looked up another one, and that's why I did a second interview spread with this deck. But what am I bringing to the relationship? It would say from this book is I'm seeking security. I bringing security in the relationship for the deck, and what the deck is bringing to the relationship, I actually got the Fountain, which is infinite possibilities. So the deck says it will bring infinite possibilities, which I think is interesting. And what could I do for my deck, which is King of Wands, which I would say the master of putting energy and time into my deck and to grow spiritually. And that's what I got from the King of Wands. So if somebody else would have got something else, you could comment below, and that I would be very interested to read everybody's comments. I am very open-minded. And what my deck can do for me, 9 of Swords. And I thought, just bringing myself out of the hard time. I don't know if most of you have seen this, have this tarot deck, I'm assuming. And I'm pretty sure... But yeah, I'm pretty sure most of you have this tarot deck. And I think Patrick from 78 Cards, he actually got the original print of this. Dang. I probably shouldn't be doing this in this video, but got the fountain there. If I don't see it here in a few minutes, I'm going to say, oh well. Okay, here it is. I know Patrick from 78 Cards has the original image of this card. And basically, this was a very hard card for me too. And when I watched his video about this card, it really hit me, and I felt so much empathy for him, and I felt that in a very deep soul level too, just the way he was explaining it. And I probably should link his video down below too once I get a chance. But I'm going through a time where I feeling like this right now, and I'm just feeling like I should just hermiting myself. I'm locking myself in the closet. I just don't want to come out of my shell. You can tell I'm still wearing a sports bra and a tank top. I'm not feeling comfortable coming out of my shell yet. I still am feeling like my family's incomplete and everything in my life is incomplete still. And I'd rather just hermit myself away or shut myself away and just excommunicate myself from the rest of the world. And I feel like that's what Swords is talking about, is communication. And when you're kind of doing this in yourself and your closet and your house and things like that, you're just kind of shutting yourself away. And it speaks to me at that level too. And I very much appreciate people bringing out their secret space with people, because it's not easy to talk about that, especially when there are negative people writing negative comments on YouTube. I'm a victim of that too. As I did a review about a year ago on the was it the Handle Tarot, and I took that pretty personally. There was a YouTuber they watched my channel, and I'm gonna ignore that for now. But I had a YouTuber watched my deck review on the Handle Tarot, and they criticized me, and they snarked and said there was a guidebook out there by such and such, and they had a scientific way of explaining this deck, and you didn't know what you were reviewing, basically. And I was like, I felt victimized because I didn't know that there was a separate guidebook for the Handle Tarot than what was with the deck. And if it was a separate guidebook, then it was by a second person or third party person anyway, so I wouldn't have known the difference. It didn't come with the deck unless somebody said so, and she was the only one that said so. And I watched somebody else's deck review later. I think it was Truth and Stories. It was around the same time as she was doing the Handle Tarot, and she said, "Oh yeah, so and so did the guidebook in this deck," and I'm like, well, I wouldn't have known. I'm just basing off of what you got with the cards. But enough of that. And the overall relationship with the cards I got was Seven of Swords, which was communication and not to withhold information. So I think that's the cards. The cards are wanting to communicate and not withhold information and all that good stuff. And my second, I don't need to talk about that. Oh, I could talk about that. That's a really fun one. But I did one of these prompts in the Tarot Playbook as well, and it says, if the deck was like a personality or a person, what would their interests be? What movies would they like? What annoys them? What do they like to do in their free time? If they were an element, what would they be? And things like that. And I took on that, and I said, I don't believe that personifying a tarot card, don't, by all means. But hey, when you're doing journaling work and you're having a hard time connecting to a deck, sometimes personifying a card deck is alright. I have my ethics beliefs on personifying tarot cards and things like that, but I think for the sake of journaling and using it for self-reflection and things like that, personifying a card deck is, I think, is fine by me. And so I am not, my opinions about interview spreads and personifying cards and stuff has definitely changed since I've been trying to work with my decks, not just kind of throwing them back in my card deck collection and just saying, I'm going to keep buying and hoarding tarot decks. I'm actually going to try to work with my decks, and this is what I'm trying to do with the journaling. And I think personifying a card deck is not so bad when you're trying to journal like that. And so I got, what movie would you watch? And I got the Ten of Cups, which is kind of like a fluffy, happy movie. Steel Magnolias was one of the movies that I thought of when, what kind of movies would this deck watch? It would be Steel Magnolias. Something fluffy, happy, chick flicky, and everybody gets married and falls in love in the end kind of movies. How would you spend your free time? And I got Six of Cups, which is sharing time and space with the people you love. That's what I got from that deck, the deck. And then what annoys you, I got Six of Coins, and it would be, instead of giving, I got the reversal, so it would be withholding security, or not being giving to others, and just withholding information and security and things like that from other people. Even withholding what needs to happen for that person to be comfortable in their skin. And then what's your favorite time of year? And I got Justice, which is a major arcana, which to me would say every time of year is my favorite time of year. Because if I did Wands, I think Wands is like the fall. Cups, I believe, is spring. Air, I know, is winter, and Earth would be summer, I believe. Yeah, I believe that is how that is. So when I got pulled on a major arcana, it was basically saying, oh, every year, time of year is my favorite kind of year. And then I got what element you would, if you were an element, what would you be with this tarot deck? And it basically said, I pulled the Five of Cups, which is interesting. Because I would have thought I would have pulled a sword, cards. But this deck kind of, even then I pulled this, when I just pulled something from the pile here, it wants to see itself as water. It's a water element. This deck sees itself as water, and I've always associated this deck being very airy and light and airy because of its pastel colors. But no, when I did the card draw for this deck, it wanted to see itself as water. Movement, emotional, spiritual, intuitive. And those were the kind of intuitive takes I got from this deck, is that it wants to see itself as water, as emotional, and not really telling you what it is and like it is, and like a radio station. And that's kind of what an air element is. It's a broadcast, it's air, it's communication, it's telling you what you need to know. But maybe I'm not saying that being an air sign, you're not going to tell what's emotional, but you're not going to get so deep in some of those emotional, heartfelt issues that you would have with a water sign. Okay, she's good. But yeah, that's what I got from this deck, is that it wants to view itself as a water card and a deck. And I'm like, intriguing. Very intriguing for me. And as a counselor, what is your favorite problem that you would like to solve? And I got the Three of Cups, which would be, I got a numerological answer instead of a Rider-Waite answer, which is kind of more Marseille-based answer, which is they want to solve problems with creativity, or creator's block, or writer's block, or creator's block, and just a creativity block. And it wants to solve problems that way. And I thought that was interesting, because here on one side, this deck was very much telling me that it wants to talk about the spiritual issues and emotional issues of what's going on in your life. And then the other side, it's completely saying it wants to help with all your creator's blocks or writer's blocks and creativity blocks that you might have within yourself. So, for example, if I'm starting bullet journaling and want to do doodling banners or calligraphy writing, or plug that baby up. Calligraphy, writing, or even do painting and things like that. This deck wants to be involved and say, hey, I'm going to inspire you to be more creative. And I think it's wonderful that, what's her face? Kelly from The Truth of the Story is starting her watercolor journey. And I think that's cool. And she got pens and collections and stuff like that. And I think that's amazing. Everybody should have the right to be creative in some shape or form. My husband's idea of creativity is horseback riding. And we don't see it as an art. But I feel like this deck wants to help with all the creative processes. Not just one or two, but all things that seek self-expression. And that's what it wants to help us with, is self-expression. And I think it's a great card deck if you are using it as a personal deck and wanted to seek those kind of problems from itself. So I think that is interesting. And if anybody is having problems with their self-expression, use the Fountain Tarot. I believe this Fountain Tarot is very good for self-expression. And then what else I've done with this Fountain Tarot? I did some other exercises with it. And then I got the Lover's card and what I got with that. And I did Katie Flowers' version of the interview spread, which I think I'll try to link down below if I can remember it. And hers interview spread was actually not too different from the first interview spread I got, which was completely interesting because it's how is best to work with you. I still got the Fountain, which is, I said before, it was infinite possibilities. It was like a double affirmation, and I was like, wow, that's awesome when you could get a double affirmation from a deck or yourself or your intuitive hits. So that tells you something. So I do believe there's no such thing as coincidences. So if something is a double affirmation, listen to those intuitive hits. And I thought it was great that this deck did a double affirmation right there. And there was a lot of double affirmations that this deck did with the both interview spreads. And the only thing that was different, like what is your strengths as a deck, I got the Strength card. And then what are your weaknesses in this deck, I got the Magician. Which is interesting. It's I think it's not well-rounded. Some of your, I think the Magician is some of the issues that it may have is, it might not touch on every issue. Maybe that's what it is with the Magician in reversal. It's not well-rounded with every issue you have, with every question you would have, or every issue that you have. Maybe it will, maybe has like some stuttering problems. You know, the deck with the stutter. It's like, And then I got, what are your potential outcomes of working together? And I got the Ace of Swords is like the beginning of communication with others and yourself, which was very good. And how is the deck sees me? And I got Two of Swords. It's a balance of conflicts and communications with oneself. And how you see yourself, and it's the Two of Cups. The deck sees itself, and it sees itself as the Two of Cups, which is working together in harmony and unite. It, you know, make reader and tarot become one unit, which was very, very awesome. I love that. It was so beautifully said. From a tarot deck, it was beautifully said. What are you here to teach me? And I got Three of Swords, which is getting over heartache and pain and also becoming whole again. You know, the reason why we sometimes go to a tarot reader is because we're hurting inside and our heart breaks. I love this deck. I really do. And then I did one of the exercises for this tarot deck was to draw in the blank, which is I got the 6 of coins. I just did a basic doodle sketch. And to better understand my card, I outlined the deck, drew the image on there. I did, fill in the outside blanks with this deck. And like, there's the giver down below, and there's the, giver up top and the receiver down below. And that was a way that I could better connect with this image of what does it mean to be 6 of coins with no guy giving money to a lesser or poor somebody who needs it, giving security to someone else. And I didn't understand that from the images, and I thought that was a good example. And I believe that's all my tarot journal for this deck. But as far as my initial impressions of this deck and my journey with this deck, this complicated few weeks and stuff of this month of July, it actually is worth purchasing. I think it's $40 on the Fountain Tarot site. And I love the gilded edgings, I love the card size, and I love just some of the things that this deck talks about. It was a really nice deck. And do not buy this wine from Trader Joe's. You will recognize it for being $3. It was like a Pinto Moon Noir or something like that. It was like, ugh. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. But I want to hear what you've experienced with this deck. Some of your symbolisms. Since I didn't get to do the live video chat that I want to do, I want to hear it from you all in the comments below. I really want to hear the sacred space that you've experienced with this deck. And I wanted it to be more than a review. I wanted to chat and talk about some of these symbolisms that we don't talk about. Some of the deck experiences that we just keep locked in ourselves. The 9 of Swords. Locked our communications in. But for today, I am done with what I have to say about the Fountain Tarot. If there is a tarot deck that you want to talk about and me to do some journaling work and some interview spreads and maybe some other fun things, and if there was a topic you want me to journal prompt topic, do you want me to do, I will do some journal prompts. I will do some I will work with another deck that you just can't relate with or something like that, or just want a request, a deck request. I'm very open to that. And I'm very open to what others have to say. And you all have a good evening, and blessed be.